On November 15th, 2023, police responded to an incident at Royal Windsor Drive and Winston Churchill Boulevard in Mississauga, where two unknown suspects approached a business and shot and killed an individual working there. The victim of this homicide is 29-year-old Jagraj Singh from Brampton. Investigators have determined that Mr. Singh was not the intended target, and it was simply the wrong place at the wrong time. The suspects arrived and departed in a blue Dodge Challenger. A few days later, a shooting occurred on Mayfield Road in Caledon, which Inspector McDermott will speak about shortly. On November 16th, 2023, PRP investigators attended this address for an unrelated, lawful investigative purpose and spoke with several people, including the victims of that homicide, that the OPP will share information on shortly. At that time, the Peel Regional Police and the officers did not have any reason to believe the residents of that home were in danger, as the OPP will share that the victims were not the intended targets. Project Midnight was launched alongside the OPP as a joint investigation to ensure best efforts in solving these violent crimes. This is a highly complex and multifaceted investigation, and we know that tragedies like these undermine the sense and safety of security of all members of our community. We are urging anyone with information about any of these incidents to please call the dedicated tip line at 1-833-941-5570. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. It's 1-800-222-8477. We know that any form of gun violence has disturbing and profound impacts on individuals, family, and our communities. We continue to prioritize and work with our community to stop these blatant acts. I'll now pass the podium over to Detective Inspector McDermott. Thank you.
Inspector Brian McDermott from the Ontario Provincial Police Criminal Investigation Branch. Shortly before midnight on November 20th, 2023, officers from the Caledon OPP detachment responded to a shooting on Mayfield Road. 3 individuals sustained multiple gunshot wounds. A male was discovered deceased, while 2 females were transported to hospital. Tragically, one of those females did not survive, while the second female remains in the hospital. We believe multiple suspects were involved. One of the suspects was last seen entering a black pickup truck, which was last seen westbound on Mayfield Road. This truck is suspected to have been stolen on November 14th from the area of Mississauga Valley Boulevard and Arista Way in Mississauga. Shortly after the homicides on November 20th, the same black pickup truck that was stolen from Mississauga was involved in a vehicle fire in the area of Old Baseline Road and Credit View Road in Caledon. Images of the truck have been disclosed with today's media release. Police would also like to speak to an individual who was in the area at the time of the vehicle theft who may have valuable information. His photo is also attached for media release. Investigative information and forensic evidence have confirmed that the incidents in Peel Region and Caledon are connected. Furthermore, it seems that the locations of the shootings were deliberately targeted. We wish to emphasize that the 3 victims in the homicide were innocent and mistakenly targeted. 2 lives were tragically cut short, and 1 individual has suffered life-altering injuries. Our thoughts go out to the families and friends of the victims. Together with the Peel Regional Police, we are fully committed to identifying the suspects responsible for these deaths and ensuring that they are held accountable for their actions. We ask that anyone who knows these individuals' identities, whereabouts, or has other information to please contact our dedicated tip line at 1-833-941-5570. You can also provide information anonymously to Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Your cooperation is vital to our efforts to bring these individuals to justice. Thank you.
Thank you, inspectors. Before we begin with questions, I want to preface that this joint investigation is independent of the Peel Police Extortion Investigative Task Force. While these shooting incidents bear some similarities to what we've seen in extortion-related crimes across the region, at this time, these incidents under investigation do not appear to be extortion-related. This remains active and ongoing, but a separate investigation. We understand the significant interest in this case from both a public and journalistic perspective, and the concern with the length of time that has passed from the first incident to today's update. It is important to understand that the manner and timing in which we relay information can have drastic impacts on the outcome of investigations as complex as these. There may be questions that you have here today that will not be able to be elaborated on fully or specifically desired in order to maintain the integrity of this investigation. 3 lives were lost and many more were impacted by what has transpired. It is our utmost priority to ensure that nothing compromises this investigation. We just ask that you be mindful of that, and thank you for your understanding. And I'll take the first question.
Can you tell us, since you mentioned it's not extortion related, how do police believe these are connected?
Okay, so the question is how we believe they're connected, so I'll pass it off to Inspector for the VP.
Thank you. As indicated, through information that police have learned, as well as forensic evidence, that has led us to the belief that is related. The exact nature of those linkages and what's led to it is integral to the investigative integrity and could jeopardize the investigation if we were to release exactly what those links are.
The Sidhu family, the family of the family in Caledon, feel upset that they don't seem to have a lot more information about why their family was visited shortly before their 2 parents were gunned down. I know you mentioned today that they were visited, but is there any more information you can give publicly about exactly why they were visited?
Thanks. Yes, as I said in my statement, we did in fact attend that address. And it was in furtherance of the investigation into Mr. Singh's death on Royal Windsor Drive. We had no information at that time that the occupants were in any danger. In a homicide investigation, like any major case, we visit dozens, if not hundreds of addresses in support of an investigation. And this case is certainly no different.
Were the owners of that property connected somehow to Mr. Singh's murder? Is that why officers were there?
No.
Hi, can you just elaborate or summarize exactly how many suspects you're looking for and whatever you can tell us about what you know of the links between the suspects?
There are a number of suspects. We've shown multiple suspects, at least 2 individuals in each of the residential shootings, as well as the homicide. We believe that there are also multiple suspects from the Caledon. In terms of the linkage of all those suspects, again, that's something that's part of the ongoing investigation that we're trying to determine, and releasing any possible links could jeopardize the ongoing investigation.
Just how helpful have witnesses and video surveillance been during this investigation into this series of shootings?
As with any investigation, I mean, police can work as hard as they can, but require assistance from the public, both in us obtaining video surveillance as well as witness statements. No investigation would move forward at all if we didn't have help from the public.
And you mentioned earlier that you are seeking one individual specifically. Can you just clarify and elaborate on that?
Yeah, that individual was seen. His image was out there. He was. We believe he was in the area. Excuse me, when the vehicle was stolen. So we would like to speak to that individual to determine whether they have any relevant information to the theft or the greater ongoing investigation.
Can you please elaborate over the incident that took place in Caledon?
On November 20th, at least one or several individuals attended the address on Mayfield Road. 3 victims were shot, one died at scene. Unfortunately, another lady died afterwards, and then the victim remains in hospital.
And do you consider this as a hate crime incident?
We are looking at all aspects of it. Okay, I can tell you that the victims were we do not believe they were intended targets, but in terms of the specific motive, that's part of what we're looking at.
Okay. So, with the increasing crime rates and auto thefts, what will be your message to the public?
In terms of auto theft, the auto thefts is not part of this specific investigation. Okay, we're investigating the homicide of 3 people, homicides of 3 people and 3 shootings. It's not related to auto thefts. In terms of my global message, again, just to reiterate to the public that we are doing everything we can to investigate these shootings and bring the offenders to justice.
Okay, so can you explain about the suspects and the incident that happened in Caledon?
So, with respect to Caledon, those questions are best directed towards the Ontario Provincial Police. What I can speak, at least collaboratively, looking at it holistically, Peel Regional Police and the Ontario Provincial Police have partnered together for a joint investigation that is encompassing of 5 incidents in total. 3 residential shootings that occurred between in the city of Brampton, as well as a homicide death that occurred in Mississauga. Separate from this, obviously a homicide investigation, it does involve stolen vehicles. What I can say is it's not uncommon in heinous acts such as these, where stolen vehicles are used as a mechanism for criminals, so that in and of itself is not something that's a new concept to police, and this is really separate from the ongoing auto theft issue that we see across the country, but obviously very prevalent here in Peel. So really we're talking about 2 different instances. We're talking about auto theft in totality, and in this case, vehicles being used in the commission of an offense, which is not a new concept. There's not much we can say to the members of the family that have been impacted here, but what we would like to reassure the public with at least is the Ontario Provincial Police, Peel Regional Police, we have some of the best homicide investigators across the country, and we talk very, very closely, and we collaborate very, very efficiently, and they are working around the clock. Substantial resources are put in place to ensure that we have every T crossed and every I dotted, and we want to know that these are in continuous efforts, separate to things like the extortion investigative task force here in Peel Region. These are all things that happen simultaneously, and the community can at least rest knowing that the fullest extent of resources are being utilized.